Alrighty, so we are recording now. Welcome everyone to TAM Lab number 28. Today I'm going to be going through a vCenter server, VCSA, so vCenter server appliance backup and restore. I have I have two VCSAs in my lab, and one of them will be just completely destroying and seeing if we can restore it. So just to give you a little bit of a disclaimer here, I have not done this, so this should be an interesting scenario, and I feel like this is what a customer would actually experience, right? Because if they have a VCSA and it dies, more than likely they're restoring that for the very first time and crossing their fingers and hoping that it works, right? So this should be a fun lab today. All right, with that, let me close out a PowerPoint here. And before I jump into this, let me give you a little bit of background on the lab. So I've got over here, this vCenter, this is my main lab vCenter, right? So I've got a couple clusters in here. Within the prod cluster, I have 4 nested ESXi hosts, and I have another vCenter called Lab VCSA. And if we log into that vCenter over here, that's what you're looking at. So here are the 4 hosts, 2 different clusters, and this is the vCenter that we're going to be basically, I'm going to shut it down and delete it, and we'll see what happens when I try to restore it. So one other interesting thing to note here is this vCenter we have NSX-T in here, 241. So we'll see how the restore handles that, if there's any kind of challenges from an NSX perspective. And it's also connected into vROps, so we can see if that comes back to life after we do the restore. So I'm going to do things a little bit out of order here because the restore process is going to take a bit of time because it has to basically redeploy a VCSA. So I want to kick that off first so it has time to complete. And while it's doing that process, we'll go through the backup options, how you actually back up a VCSA, and we can talk through that. So any questions before I get going here? Okay. So I'm going to, first off, validate I have a backup just to make sure. I took one yesterday, but I want to make sure here. So if I go to the VAMI interface of this vCenter, which is lab right there, port 5480, and I'm going to log in as root. If you go down to the backup section here, you will see all the previous backups that have been taken, right? So I did take one yesterday, and that should be sufficient. So just to confirm. All right, so now I'm going to go over to my main vCenter, and I'm going to actually shut this thing down. I'm not even going to power it off or shut it down gracefully. I'm just going to power it off. And here goes. By the way, this vCenter and this NSX-T environment is the one that we did a couple weeks ago on TAM Lab where we deployed NSX-T. So if you want to see that, check it out. Okay, so that vCenter is shut down. So if I click anywhere here, it should sit there in timeout, right? And just to confirm, I'm going to ping it. And I got nothing. Okay. So to take it one step further, I'm actually going to delete it too, because it's a lab, right? Delete from disk. Okay, that's a bad scenario, right? My vCenter is completely dead. Well, it will be here in a second. Come on. Did it go?
Recent task is gone.
Yeah, but I still see it. It's clocking here. I delete the wrong one. You know what? I think I did. Okay, well, I think we'll be restoring the other one. Oh, no, there it is. Okay, sorry. That was scary. I got my heart going. Okay, so yeah, it's gone. I was hoping somebody would have spoken up if I actually deleted the wrong one. Okay, so let's kick off the restore. So to do that, number one, you're going to need to download the bits for VCSA, right? And I've already done that. So I'm going to go to where I've saved that, which I put on my local drive here. 6.7, and I'm going to show you how I got the right version, but let's just get this started first of all. So I'm going to open this with my disk mounter image. Remember, vCenter is a little bit different in the way you deploy it in that you just mount the ISO to your local system, and then you deploy it via the utility here. So I'm on a Mac. I'll run the installer app. And that will launch. And now, normally you would do an install. Today I'm going to do a restore. So we'll click that. And it's going to be very similar to the actual install process because it really does need to redeploy the VCSA. So we're going to click next. We're going to read through that and accept. And then here we want to find the actual location of our backup. So I think I kind of made sure that I was able to do this yesterday. So I have it saved here, vCSA. I believe that's correct. Let me delete all this. My backup credentials. This is using FTP. One thing to note, the latest version of vCenter does support SMB to back up, but what I've discovered is from a restore perspective, the utility does not support SMB. So if you're using SMB as a location to back up your vCenter, you may have challenges actually restoring via SMB. So I don't know if that's a bug or if it's on the roadmap, but all right, so I'm going to give it credentials. We're going to click next, and luckily we are able to log in. We can see the path here. This is my vCenter, and you can see the date associated with this. So we want the one from yesterday. I'm going to choose that, and you can see all the files within it here. So we'll click select, next. What's cool is it actually grabs all the metadata associated with that vCenter, so the name of it, what it was configured as, the version, right, what it was deployed as with an embedded platform services controller, so we don't have to do any of that. Now it wants to know where am I going to deploy this, so you may be doing this directly to an ESXi server. Since this is a nested environment, I'm going to deploy to my main VCSA. And I'm just going to use administrator at vSphere.local credentials. Trust the cert. And where do you want to put it? And which cluster? And now, what name do you want to give it? This is the VM name, not the host name, right? So this is going to be lab VCSA. And give it a password for the root. The deployment size for my lab, I'm just going to do tiny. I'll keep it simple. Choose the data store. I'll make it thin mode. And then what's also cool is in the network settings, it was able to capture all this as well during the backup. So you can change it, but it's going to persist, right? So these are all correct.
And that's really important though, right? For the people doing the backup to not have to worry about, oh crap, what network was this thing on?
Actually, the port group it didn't pick that up, so I had to choose that because how would it know, right? Because it's a nested vCenter. So that is correct, but it did keep the IP address and the gateway and the DNS and all that. And that's that. So I'm going to click finish, and it's going to go through 2 stages. The first one is actually going to deploy a brand new vCenter, and you can see in the background here, it's kicking that off. Hopefully this won't take too long, and then we'll get to the next step where we actually do the restore from the backup, and it assumes the identity of the old one. So that's going to take a little bit of time. In the meantime, I want to go over to NSX and see what it does, because this is totally separate from vCenter. It looks like things are still happy for the most part. Right? I mean, the desired state is still all there, but I'm sure if we go to our system and our compute manager, it's not going to be so happy because it's going to try and connect to that that vCSA. Yeah, so the connection status is down. Everything's still functioning, but I obviously can't make changes and things like that. So
now, real quick, the ideal scenario here is that backup causes that vCenter to restore with the same information. So NSX-T should just see it come back online without any intervention, hopefully, right?
that's the plan. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
I've never done it, so. Like I said, this lab is going to be a little bit more shotgun approach today because I didn't get a chance to test this. So, all right. So while that's still doing its thing, let's check on it real quick here. Oops. Yeah. So it should go fairly quickly, but since we do still have our primary vCenter here, I want to log into the VAMI interface of that, and we'll go through the actual backup options and show what that looks like here. Oops, that's not what I wanted. Root. So this backup feature was first introduced in, I believe, 6.5, and there was no scheduling capabilities. Since then, this is 6.7, the latest version of 6.7. We have the ability to do scheduling, and they've also added support for SMB from a protocol perspective, which is nice. So if we give this a second, it should show the activity. This one I am backing up regularly via schedule. I don't know why it's taking so long to display everything here. Oh, maybe I'm not. Okay. So it is enabled. I'm still using FTP because I had this set up before SMB was available. But let's do a backup now. And I'm going to show you what that looks like. So one thing to note, if you are using SMB, and this was a bug that Bill and we kind of discovered last week because we were trying to use SMB for the first time, it requires SMB version 1.0. So if you don't have that enabled on your SMB server, you may need to use another protocol because SMB 1 is fairly old. So I think that is an engineering bug. They're working on that. So luckily, I'm backing this up to my Plex server, which is just a Windows 10 VM, and we were able to enable SMB version 1. So I'm going to put this in here. Oops. And it is share VCSA, I think. Oh, we're going to give it some backup credentials. In this case, I'm just going to use the administrator account. This is the local admin on my Plex server, which is also doing it's a file share. If you wanted to encrypt it, you certainly can do so. I'm not going to. And then you get the ability to include the stats, events, and tasks, which is not always required. If you'll make it a lot smaller, right? I'll give it a description here. So, and click start. Hopefully that works. And if we log into, this is my file share. We should see this under, I think it's going to pop up right here because I didn't put it under backup like I should have. So we'll give that a minute. Let me look at this. Okay, so that's still going. Did this thing stop? This isn't working. Huh. Just kind of timed out on me. Okay, well, we'll give that another try in a minute here. Well, anyway, it should have backed up. I don't know why it didn't. We can try it again if we have time. But
I found when I did that, Steve, it actually took. Hopefully that's the case for you. It just took some time for it to refresh. Maybe yours did timeout.
Yeah, I don't know. It's acting sluggish here. But anyway, we'll give that a minute. This one is almost done with the first stage where it's deploying the VCSA. But let's look at the actual backups themselves. So one thing I've noticed, so here is some backups from the other day. One thing your customer is probably going to experience if they need to do this is they're going to need to download the version of vCenter that they need to restore to, right? So I would say as a best practice, every time they update vCenter, to download the latest ISO for VCSA that corresponds with that and just keep it wherever the backups are. That way, when you need to do a backup, you have it. You don't have to figure out which version because you're going to want it to be the same version. But if you didn't do that and you need to download it, oh, there it goes. Look at that. Look at you, Bill. You called it.
It takes uncomfortably long. To your point, like, oh,
okay. Anyway.
yeah.
But so back to what I was saying, if the customer doesn't have vCenter downloaded already and they don't know which version it is, if you go into the backup files and look at the JSON, the backup metadata, and just open that with the text editor, it's going to have all sorts of interesting things in here. And I think it's that. So here's the version of vCenter. And more importantly, the build number is up here. You know what, let me do a different one rather than that one. That's my primary one. But if we do this one here, this is the one that we're actually restoring. Which one is which? Okay, so this is the one that we're actually restoring. So if you open up this JSON file, it looks a little different than the older version. So here's the version of vCenter. And if you scroll down, it actually shows the build as well, which is right here. And then if you need to go to my VMware to download that, what they're going to do is go to download products, all products. You're going to find where vCSA is, vCenter server, go to downloads, and if you click on read more, there's your build number, right? So this is truly the latest and greatest, and it matches here. So that build, right? So that's how they would know specifically. If it were a previous version, you could check that out and you'd see exactly which build number. There is a KB out there that correlates the build number to, you know, the product version, but it's a little bit more cumbersome. This way, it's kind of like, okay, this is exactly the version I need, right? So keep that in mind.
Hey, Steve, question.
Shoot.
Do you know if an older backup can be restored to a newer version?
I don't know that off the top of my head.
Are you talking like within the same family, or like a 6.0 to a 6.5 or a 6.5 to a 6.7? Yes,
like 6.5 to 6.7 type of thing. Let's say a customer is looking at this as an upgrade strategy.
Oh, so my take on it, correct me if anybody else is more knowledgeable on this one, but when you do the upgrades, you're going to have database schemas and stuff like that, right? That it's going to make adjustments to, and this process just dumps data, right? So I would assume that it's not a good upgrade strategy because, again, the upgrade's going to go ahead and update components, but that's just my take. I don't know that I've even thought of trying it. I wouldn't expect it to work.
Yeah,
but you assume that, say, 6.7 U1 to 6.7 U2 would work.
Potentially. I mean, I think that has more of a chance of working than 6.5 to 6.7, but it's definitely worth trying out in our home labs.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
Well, I'll pose the question though after the session here today.
Well, and I know, you know, futures around what vCenter is, you know, the way things are maturing, and this is going to be a very important path for our customers to back up vCenter, because some of the additional consistency checks that are going in and other validations. So it'll be really good to maybe get some of those questions answered because I think we're going to have more and more customers using this, or should have more customers using it.
Yeah, for sure.
Right, and I think that goes to a question that I had posed earlier, I believe, before the recording started, which is the consistency checks and so on. As you are restoring a backup, making sure that the backup doesn't contain the same corruption that caused the initial failure.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's where it's a good idea to come in here and schedule and keep, number of days to retain. So if you know when it went corrupt, you can, account for that. But good question. I don't know the answer, but I'll pose that question on our internal VMware social, and hopefully we can get an answer pretty quick. So the first stage finished, so it deployed it. The next step now is I'm going to continue, and that's where it's actually going to do the restore from backup, I believe. So there's really nothing to do here. We're going to click next. If I had an encryption password, I do not, but I would put that in here. Hopefully this is able to grab the backup, because it is taking long for this other one to back up. I don't know why, but anyway, click next. Shut down the original backup appliance before you proceed to avoid network conflicts. So that's just saying if that vCenter was still up and running, shut it down, but we already deleted it. So we'll click finish. Once you click OK, there's no going back. All right. Here we go. And I mean, if we want to, we could log into our Plex server or FTP server, and we should be able to see the FTP traffic. What is it? I think it's FileZilla. So here's the connection. You can see it's transferring data. And it's already done copying over the files. So this should, oh, maybe not. It's just doing one file at a time. Okay. So it's transferring over. This one's still running for some reason, but you can see that the other protocol I've been using is FTP. But I think it'll be handy to have SMB. I feel like a lot of customers will want to leverage that. And we should be able to see this getting created here. Yeah, this one right here. So it's in the process of backing it up. I don't know why it's going so slow. Must just be a lot in there. Okay, almost there, starting services. And we can look at this vCenter. See what it's doing. Definitely working. By the way, on our media server where we're dumping the SMB backups, to turn on SMB version 1 on Windows, at least Windows 10, it took about a 15-second Google search. But you just go into Programs and Features, turn Windows features on or off, and then in this list here, there's an SMB version 1 section right here. So we just enabled the SMB 1.0 CIFS server, which was turned off by default. And then you got to restart. So something to keep in mind. Connection status is still down from NSX. Let's check vROps. Still down. So while we're waiting, does anyone have customers that are using this and have tested it?
I think the testing is the part. I think I do have a customer who is using it.
Yeah.
But it's just more of an overall, we'll try and protect things multiple ways, including traditional backup methods that they've used for years.
Right.
So I think it's there, but to your point, I don't know they've tested it.
Gotcha. I feel like it's a better option just from the virtual administrator perspective because they're the ones setting up where these backups are going. So in an emergency, they don't necessarily need to engage with the backup team, right, and get some kind of a Commvault backup or whatever going, right? It's something they can do probably a little bit more efficiently.
My customer's biggest concern about using this method and why I wanted to join today was to see about the restoration process of the network pieces, because it's my understanding that you have to restore the VDSs themselves afterwards. Is that right?
Oh, I don't know. I guess we'll find out. Actually, in this case, I don't think we even have a VDS. It's all NVDS because it's NSX-T.
Yep.
But maybe there's still a VDS there. I forget. I was not aware of that, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, but my understanding and my customer's understanding is that the VDSs are backed up separately. So that's why they're concerned about moving to this process, because they have 80 plus vCenters, which is a whole nother conversation. But
Right.
Manually restoring all the VDSs and 80 plus vCenters would be a chore.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'll tell you what, let's log into one of the hosts that is being managed by this vCenter. See what it sees. This is the management host within that vCenter. Yeah, sure. So networking, there's a VDS, so it's still there. I'm right, because the configuration still exists on the hosts. Oh, let me click on a different one. So this is the VDS. This host was never prepped with NSX, so this one was not included in that. But you can see the VDS still exists on that host. Traffic is still flowing. Let's do one of these other ones that has the NVDS. See what that looks like.
Good to see another 1Password user.
Yeah, I feel like everyone uses that.
Yeah.
I'd be lost without it.
Me too.
All right, so the VDS is there, and the port groups are there, because this app, web, and DB, these are NVDS. See, they're opaque network port groups, so they're still there. It doesn't even show the NVDS. So I guess we'll see what happens.
Yeah, when we do the restore and reattach.
Yeah. Okay, so it's done. It may need a few minutes as things are restarting, but Let's see. Let's go here. Oh, look at that. Connection status is up. Okay, I'm impressed. Let's look at vROps. Data receiving. Okay, so let's go to try to log in here. That's a good sign. Let's log in. Wow, okay. That looks good. What are these errors or these warnings? That may go away if we give it a few minutes. I've seen that. But I mean, otherwise, this looks okay. Let's look at the networking. There's the VDS. Let's add a port group to it, see what happens. And yeah, Elastic, that's fine. We'll say it's VLAN. I don't know, 250. That worked. I think we're good. I don't think we needed to back up the VDS separately.
That's a huge win.
Yeah, let's check the host now. So it should be here under port groups. It may not show it unless something is using it though. Let's see. Let's check that other host. If that's the case, we can add a VM real quick and connect it. Let's try that. So on this host, let's do a new VM. Sure. Test. Sure. Sure. Yep. Looks good. And we'll put it on the TAM lab network. There it is. Yeah, I don't see a reason to have to restore the NVDS or the VDS separately. Still a good idea to export those configs though.
Yeah. Better safe than sorry.
Yeah. But let's look at this vCenter. So here it is. We'll look at a host within there. I suspect we'll have a little bit of a gap in data, but that's about it. We'll do CPU. Let's do usage percentage. Yeah, so here's when we killed it, and here's when it came back. So it was between 10:05 to 10:35. So that worked, no problems there.
Didn't take terribly long either.
No, and I mean, my lab is not that fast, so let's go to NSX and let's create a new segment just for fun. See if I can remember how to do this. Not much of an NSX guy, but we'll call it. It will be sure the tier 1. We'll set a subnet, gateway, 10 dot, all right, let's do 172.16.44.1/24. And I don't know, 44, whatever. Save. Oh, I'll just kill that. Nope. Oops. Wait, where am I going? Okay, so in here, it may take a minute to show up. I might have to even put a VM on that new segment. Tier 1 flexible. This should be tier 1. Why doesn't it like that? Oh, I got it on the wrong transport zone. Okay, let's see. Is that another one? Overlay, that's what I did. There it is. So I didn't have to do anything to vROps. I didn't have to do anything to NSX. It just came back. I mean, all the registered connections are still there. So I'd say that's fairly successful. And this is running vSAN too. I'm not sure about this third-party IO filter. Let's look up here real quick. Might just be, yeah, they're all online. Yeah, I'd have to research that one, but I feel like everything else is good. Anybody have any questions or comments or thoughts? Make it a quick session today. Surprised it went so quickly, actually.
Yeah, I just wonder, and this is just thinking, not that we need an answer, but I wonder how relevant, or maybe we should pose this question to our customers too. How relevant are the backups? Like, does it really make sense to have 5 days? Maybe it does. Maybe it depends on the churn of our customer's environment.
Yeah.
And things of that nature. But what would happen right now, Steve, if you went back and restored the one from a week ago?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
With certain things time out, or if what if there was some SSL certs that were replaced, or things of that nature, right? So
So I brought this question up a bit earlier. I don't think it was in the recording, because let's say this was a VDI environment and you've gone through a shift change or something like that. You've probably got tens, hundreds, possibly thousands of desktops that have been recycled. So then what happens with the database and so on?
Yeah, but wouldn't it just refresh all the VMs that are running on the hosts? Wouldn't that be where it would pull the latest information?
Or is it
Maybe
going to show all of those old VMs as abandoned or orphaned or something like that?
Right.
And then what does that do for linked clones and so on?
Yeah, I guess what we should have done is before we started any of this is created a new VM or something like that. Because we were storing from a backup that didn't have that VM, it didn't exist, and just see how it handled it. That would have been probably interesting.
Yeah. It looks like the registration of the IO filter warning is caused by a temporary break in communication between the vCenters and the hosts.
Oh,
So,
okay. Yeah, that's what I thought, because I've seen it before, and I've just given it a bit of time, and it seems to go away. So
seems like, at least according to the KB article, you can safely ignore it.
okay. Wish there was a way to like retry or something, but I was going to say something else. Can't remember what it was. Oh, I know what it was. If we go back to vCenter now, let's look at this VM, for instance. Monitor, advanced. If we look at the last week, right, performance data, you can see we still have it all because the backup included all the stats and the performance information.
Oh yeah.
Which is cool. Which does live in vCenter.
Now there was an option in the backup, right, to include or exclude that, right?
Yeah, right here, stats, events, and tasks. That's all I got, though. Pretty straightforward. I mean, it worked really well.
Awesome. Well, thank you for running through it. I mean,
Yeah, that was fun. Like I said, I didn't try it beforehand, so I figured it'd be more like an actual lab.
You know, the nice thing too is, you know, now we can ask these critical questions of exactly how does this work with Horizon? How does it work with VRA, VCD, you know, all of these other orchestration style things.
Well, I got an idea. Well, we've got a few minutes. So this vCenter that we just restored is the very latest version of vCenter. My existing vCenter is, I think, like a couple patches behind. So let's kick off the backup or the restore process again, but point it to one of the other. We won't actually do it, but
oh yeah,
we'll just see. That might answer your question, Mike, as far as will it even allow it. So the latest version of vCenter, the ISO, we're going to do a restore, but I'll point it to, like I said, that older version.
So real quick, while you're clicking through, the process is going to be, it's going to deploy the virtual appliance and then pull the backup in, right?
Yes.
Oh, here we go. Review backup information. So it might reject it right off the bat.
It might.
Okay.
Flash. What is it? Let's see. I guess it's vCenter. Okay, so it sees it. This is my actual vCenter, and this is a little bit older version of vCenter, so let's see. Aha. There you go, Mike.
Yeah, they have to be identical, huh?
Yeah. Oh, can someone unmute Mike? He's on.
I did.
Yeah, I got unmuted.
There we go.
So perfect. Good to know.
Yeah. Are identical. Okay. There you go.
Real quick, what does the installer log say? Like, I wonder if it calls out something specific, like maybe if you didn't have the stats. Like, I don't know. I'm just wondering what the log actually might tell us.
That's pretty short.
Yeah.
Backup location.
Not a lot.
Doesn't say much. Okay, well that answers that.
There's actually some interesting lines in there where it says
Yep.
build number on this version and so on. It looks like it was doing a straight comparison there.
Oh yeah.
So that can be helpful for that person that doesn't quite have the right file. I know you walked through it and finding the build numbers earlier.
Right.
Cool. That was a
Yeah,
good
I
use
could
of
see
time right
that.
there.
I could see that being a delay. You know, trying to get this thing back up is just getting the right version of the installer. That's why I would recommend, if you do have discussions with your customers around how to set this up and all that, it's every time they deploy a vCenter and update it, it's just download that version as well and keep it with the backup somewhere, because it'll make your life easier. But that's more of a manual process, but that's all I got.
Well, cool.
Cool. Thanks, man. That was really informative.
You bet. That was fun. Alrighty.
Real quick,
Thanks, Steve.
if you could stick around when we end the meeting and fill out the survey, that would be fantastic.
Oh yeah. Good call. Thanks, Bill.
No problem. Take just a second, really.
Yeah, it's one question.
I think the next step on this would be to figure out if the database could be ripped out, if the database was corrupt, and run any maintenance utilities on the database and then put it back into the backup for restore.
Well, that'd be interesting.
Let's see. So, I mean, here's database full backup.
Just gonna yank it out.
It breaks it out pretty well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I wonder if there's a checksum on it or anything like that that would keep you from manipulating it.
Yeah, I don't know. Way out of my realm, but maybe support GSS could do something. I'm not sure.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean,
At
just
least we
having
know
a
how to do the
backup is,
backup and restore now.
yeah. That was fun. Alrighty. Well, thanks everybody. Have a good rest of your week and a good weekend. And
All right. Thanks, Steve.
later. All right. Take care.
Take care.